Well, happy Mother's Day. It is a great day to remember our moms, and grateful for you being here this morning. My name's Don Fitzgerald. I'm one of the elders here, and as Steve said, he asked us to share a little bit about our moms, and very glad to do that. Frances Baker Tucker Fitzgerald was born in June 1919 in rural Middle Tennessee. She grew up in a Christian family. She married my dad just before he went into the Army and was called to Germany during World War II. My older brother was actually born while he was away in Germany, and my mom's still living in Tennessee. From there, my dad returned home after the war, went back to work for John Deere. They moved a couple times with John Deere, and I was born in Crowley, Louisiana. Then moved to Greenwood, Mississippi, then to Memphis, Tennessee, and then to St. Louis, where I started junior high school. I have 3 siblings. My mom passed away in 2005. It's not really lost on me that I had an amazing mother. And I know that that's not true for all, but I count it as one of my greatest blessings. My mom taught me, and probably more importantly, modeled for me many things. She was generally a very quiet, unassuming person, one of the most humble people I've ever known. She understood the concept of considering someone else's needs before her own. She quietly served with no fanfare or no expectation. And as I've mentioned from this podium before, she's the one that taught me, or really tried to teach me, the concept of giving first fruits, and not just giving out of abundance or obligation. 5 minutes can't do justice to the things that I learned from my mom, mostly from her modeling a life that was influenced by a great love for Jesus. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not until we're adults do we truly see what our parents did for us growing up, what genuine sacrifices they made along the way, never complaining about anything, just praying that their kids will develop their own faith and walk with Jesus. You know, she loved my dad as he did her. Their example of marriage centered in their faith was a powerful example to me and Debbie and my 3 siblings and their spouses. The bottom line is she was a remarkable example of a mom who loved God first and her family completely and sacrificially. And I'm so blessed and grateful for her life. And there's more to the story, and it relates to my statement earlier about those who really don't have a positive story about their mother. As I mentioned earlier, I moved here when I was in junior high, very formative years. There were many women at this church that became very influential in my life. Polly Farmer, Mary Prevere, Janice Devania, Jan Patrick, Barb Dolan, many others that were my mothers in the Lord. They loved me, they saw me, they taught me, they encouraged me. Yeah, I remember just like yesterday, one specific time, one specific class in junior high school at the old Glendale Church of Christ building over on Berry Road. Mary Prevere was teaching us, and she was teaching us about how we should love one another, always showing grace. She said we all need to consider that the thing we dislike or find fault with about someone else could very well be present in our own life. That hit me like a ton of bricks, and I have never forgotten that. One of many life lessons I learned from words spoken and, more importantly, lives lived by faithful women in this community of faith. I know that same teaching and modeling continues today in this congregation. I saw my kids benefit from it, and I love seeing it continue. Thank you to all the women here today that continue to teach and model Jesus to all our children, mothers in the Lord. You know, the Bible gives us very little about Mary, the mother of Jesus. When the angel told her what was going to happen, her response was, "I am the Lord's servant." I have a feeling she was a great mom. And then in John 19, at the end of that chapter, when Jesus is dying on the cross, when he is dying for the sins of the world, there's this passage that says, standing near the cross where Jesus' mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene, when Jesus saw his mother standing there beside the disciple he loved, he said to her, "Dear woman, here is your son." And he said this to his disciple, "Here is your mother." And from then on, this disciple took her into his home. A son's special love for his mother.
I was looking, I see two of my grandchildren over here, and they're going to hear a little bit about someone they don't have any idea about, which is their great-great-grandmother. So I grew up in a household. There were three generations: my parents, my maternal grandparents, and my siblings. And I want to just talk briefly about one thing about three mothers that have had an impression on me that's been life-lasting. So my grandmother, there are many things I can share, but I'm going to share one thing about each. At nighttime, she would pray. She would close her bedroom door, and she would pray. And it really wasn't always the words, but it was the emotion that she would pray with. This sense of dependency, the surrender that I heard in her expressions, and that had an impression on me. And to this day, when I think about my grandmother, I think about how she would pray at night. And then my mother, she was a powerful advocate for those who had experienced some injustice. And she would do, if you needed a place to stay, if you were temporarily without a place to stay, our home was an open door. Or if you needed a hot meal, she would provide that for you. Or if your voice was too quiet, she would be your voice. And then I think about my wife, my most valued spiritual companion, my soulmate. And I remember when we got married, she introduced me to two men. One name was Ryan Howard, and the other was Earl Keller. And one thing I noticed about those two men, they were running after God. And they invited me to run with them. So I appreciate that. So happy Mother's Day to my mother, your great-grandmother, my grandmother, your great-great-grandmother, and my wife, your grandmother. I'm sure they love that. Then there's Mary, wow, the mother of Jesus. Her story is unique, right? It's upside down in so many ways. It's just hard to wrap our mind around some of the things related to Mary. So in the first chapter in the book of Luke, I don't know what Mary was doing, but God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth to talk to Mary. And Mary, I'm assuming, just minding her own business in her house, cleaning, washing dishes, not, thinking of Joseph. Then Gabriel finds Mary, and the angel says to her, "Greetings, you are highly favored, the Lord is with you." Now, the angel didn't startle Mary so much, it was the greeting that startled. It's because says she was greatly troubled by his words and wonder what kind of greeting that might be. Then he tells her, you're going to give birth to the Son of the Most High. Mary's a teenager, right? And she's confused. She says, wait a minute now. Since I'm a virgin, how can this thing happen? And he explains the details of how this thing can happen. And I'm even more confused, anxious, and maybe even afraid by now. And then he leaves. Now, Mary, the Bible doesn't really talk a whole lot about what may have happened. I don't know if Mary went and said something to her mom and dad or to her best friend, but the next thing the Bible brings us in on is that Mary packed her bags and she hurried to a hill town in Judea to be with her cousin Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth was also with child, just happens to be John the Baptist, and so Mary explained all what she's experienced to Elizabeth, and then Elizabeth brings perspective to Mary, help her to see what is really going on. And it calms Mary's spirit. And then Mary says these things. It's called Mary's Song. I'd like to share this with you. Then Mary said, my soul glorifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God, my Savior. For he has been mindful of the humble state of his servant. From now on, all generations will be called blessed. For the Mighty One has done great things for me. Holy is his name. She has new perspective now. His mercy extends to those who fear him from generation to generation. He has performed mighty deeds with his arm and has scattered those who are proud to the uttermost thoughts. He has brought down rulers from the thrones, but have lifted up the humble. He has filled the hungry with good things, but has sent the rich away empty. He has helped his servant Israel, remembering to be merciful to Abraham and his descendants forever and ever, just as he's promised our ancestors.
My name is Brad Stevens. I'm also one of the elders here. My mother was a redhead, and she grew up right here in Brentwood. Her name at birth was Velma Louise Thompson. She hated the name Velma because she found out that her father used it because he used to have a girlfriend named Velma and he liked that name. So when people asked her what the V stand for, she said Weishlab. But most people knew her as Louise or Lou to her friends. My mother grew up in the Manchester Church of Christ, which was located in the city of St. Louis, and she used to love to sing. And she was so proud of the fact that the kids in her generation would go down to the radio stations on Sunday and sing hymns live on the radio programs. She sang alto. I used to love to just sit by my mom in church and listen to her sing. And I credit her with giving me the desire to sing as well. I can sing bass because I listen to alto. So, being the first child that was born of she married my father in 1950, and I came along in 1951, and growing up there at the church, it was like most kids, they make all their mistakes on the firstborn, so, But when I was 12 years old, she said, you're going to Bible camp this year. And I said, I don't want to go to Bible camp. And on a June day, and I found myself in the back seat of my father's Ford automobile, and we were on our way to a place out in the middle of Missouri that had a Bible camp that the church had rented for our group. And I was in the back seat crying and pleading, please don't take me to Bible camp. And I'm sure I made my mother, because I did not want to go. I didn't know anybody. I was scared to death, and she just said, no, you're going. This particular Bible camp was not exactly like our nice camps that we have here, like Neotez. It was one that, to say the least, was very rugged. When you got there, the boys slept in a concrete area that had no plumbing. There were 3 holes and a place in the back, and you had to, there were 3 showers for about 100 boys, and the water was not portable, that, you had to be very careful with that, and not exactly, the sort of thing that you go, oh boy, I want to go spend a week there. But my mother knew what she was doing. She placed me in a place where I met people who loved Jesus and put inside of me the ability to understand things that I didn't understand before. And at the end of that week, when she came to pick me up, as we were leaving, I said, Mom, I need to be baptized. And I stand in front of you today realizing that, it was my mother's desire for that, and she made it happen. And so for the moms out there, 12-year-olds know what they like, but they don't always know what they need. And so I just share that with you for what it's worth. You see, this church, we try to be a family. And you don't have to wait for going to Bible camp. We can make people who love the Lord to come here and join us so that we can be a family of God here, to invite people to what Jesus wants us to be, which is a church that tells people about how to become disciples of the Lord Jesus Christ. And that's what we want to be about. And we need moms and dads and everybody to help. It takes really a lot more people than one, to try to do all that. And so we invite anyone here that wants to join us to please let us know how we can bring you into that relationship.
Good morning. I'm Dave Weiler, yet another elder coming up today. I imagine that I've got something to share about my mom, and happy to share that with you today. Her name was Bonnie, and she passed away 17 years ago. And so the story I want to share is one that really still blesses me today. I was 19. Had graduated high school a year before, was living with my folks for a year, going to the local campus of Indiana University in Fort Wayne. And I had planned to do that for a couple years and go down to the main campus to finish up. My younger sister was 17, had just finished her junior year in high school, was looking forward to her senior year. And my dad's job transferred from Fort Wayne to a small town called Greenville, Ohio. And so he and my mom decided, yes, they're going to take that move, stay with the company. And I decided I'm staying in Fort Wayne. I'm going to stick with my plan. My sister was lobbying really hard for my mom. Could you stay in Fort Wayne, let me finish up one more year of high school? Dad's only 2 hours away, you can see him often. And could we do this? And I was fine with that too. And so my mom said, I can't do that. Did you notice that none of the other elders teared up talking about their mom? How did you guys do that? Anyway, So my mom said she could not do that, could not put that strain on her marriage when she didn't have to. And that much time away from my dad was not going to be good, and she was not going to do that. And so my sister and I decided, well, Sue could live with me. I'm 19, I'm going to move out. I can keep an eye on my sister. We're both going to be full-time students. We both have part-time jobs. You know, how much trouble can we get into? My mom told us that she couldn't do that. She was fine with me moving out, but my sister wasn't ready. My mom needed to be part of her senior year, needed to still parent daily, and a year later when my sister was ready to go to college, my mom would be able to let go, but she wasn't done yet, per se. And so my mom, my dad, and my sister all moved to Ohio. I stayed in Fort Wayne. And my sister was not happy, as you might imagine. She had a rough senior year, hard to make friends when you're the new kid and it's your senior year. But she and my mom got through it together. And a year later, when she graduated high school, she chose an Ohio college to go to University of Miami, Ohio, and had a wonderful experience there. It was really good for her. And after college graduation, she liked Ohio. She took a job in Cincinnati, staying in Ohio. And by then, my parents had moved. Job transferred again to Nebraska, so she liked Ohio. She was staying there. Meets Mr. Wright in Ohio. Imagine that. His name's Don. They got married and live in Columbus, raised their family there. They're empty nest now, and they love Ohio, and she's going to live the rest of her life there. And so that move to Ohio was a tremendous blessing to my sister's life, and she absolutely could not see that at the time. And frankly, neither could my mom. But making that tough decision with godly priorities in order is what my mom did, and she trusted God for how it would work out. And so that still blesses me today when I have to make tough decisions, advocate for difficult things, and not everybody's going to be happy. But making sure that it's godly priorities driving that decision, you communicate that in love, and then trust God to work that out in the long run. And so moms, let me encourage you this morning, when you're making difficult decisions and you know it's the right thing and everybody is not happy about it, continue to do that, trusting God that it will work out in the long run. And you will be blessed, and so will your family. Happy Mother's Day.